Hello and welcome to this jazz guitar lesson. I'm Chris Whiteman and thanks for joining me. Today we're doing another comping lesson and we're going to be looking at a 12-bar jazz blues in the key of B flat. So I've written a study that utilizes a variety of voicings, voice leading, chromaticism, and syncopated rhythms. I'm going to play the study for you and split the screen so I can show you the basic chord changes that I'm using for the harmonic foundation. And then I'm going to walk you through what I played and share my thought process with you for my comping choices. All right, so I started with a pickup into bar 1, and I'm thinking, the first measure is B flat 7, and I'm going to use a B flat 13, and it's a rootless voicing, right? I have the 7th in the bass, so A flat, the 3rd, which is D, and my 13, which is G, right? And what I'm doing is I'm doing a chromatic approach. So I'm starting on actually A flat 13 and walking up chromatically into the B flat 13. And like I said, it's a pickup. So I'm starting on the end of beat 3 before measure 1. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So that's how I'm starting my comping phrase. And by starting with a pickup, particularly a pickup with that chromaticism, it's really creating some forward motion into the first measure. I'll put the metronome on 80 so you can hear the pulse. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. And then I added a little piece of melodic content on top. 2, 3, and 4, and. And if you just extract the line on top, so it has a melodic quality to it. When I'm choosing voicings, I'm thinking about that top note more than I'm thinking about the bottom note of my chords. All right, so I've arrived at my B flat 13 voicing for bar 1. One of the things that's really important is that you're not only aware of the chord that you're currently on, but you have to be aware of where you're going. So thinking about point A and point B, right? I want to have the harmony in bar 1 and I want to have the correct harmony in bar 2. And if I'm aware of those 2 points, I can start to make choices in between them. And that's what I've done here in the second part of bar 1. I've moved from B flat 13 to B flat 7 sharp 5. I'm creating tension. Why? Because I'm moving to an E flat chord, right? And so the B flat becomes the secondary dominant of E flat, and I ratchet up the tension by creating an altered voicing. So that's a B flat 7 with a sharp 5, and that whole phrase sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. So that B flat 7 sharp 5 delivers me to my E flat 9. You might know it. If you have the root, you might be more familiar with that. I'm using a rootless voicing. I have the 3rd, the flat 7, the 9, and the 5th. And then I'm using another little kind of melodic fragment. It's an inversion of the first one, which was G to B flat. Now I'm going to use B flat to G. Right, and that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. So in measure 2, we ended up on an E flat with a 9. It's rootless. This is our 4 chord. And then I moved to an E diminished. And what's happening here, it's the same concept we talked about a minute ago, is I have to be aware of where I am currently and where I'm going. So I'm on E flat dominant, which is the 4 chord in the blues, and I want to go back to the 1. And one of the common ways that you can get back to the 1 from the 4 chord is you play the 4 chord, and then you go to the sharp 4 diminished. So it would be an E flat dominant with the natural 9 to an E diminished. And I just used different voicings. I did my E flat rootless 9 chord, and then I went to E diminished with this voicing here. G, C sharp, E, and B flat. And I could go right back to the B flat after that, I'd be fine. But I went back and kind of borrowed my opening idea, which was the chromatic movement into the B flat. So I went from the E flat with the 9, E diminished, and then I did chromatic 13 chords, A flat, A to B flat 13. And then I put that little melodic piece back on. I played the B flat on top. So let's hear what that sounds like from the beginning. 1, 2, 3. All right, so now I'm at bar 3. I've expressed my 1 chord, the B flat 13. And, you know, in the regular blues, bar 3 and bar 4 are usually the same harmony. It's usually the 1 chord for 2 measures. In the jazz blues, we usually have the 1 chord for 1 measure, and then a lot of times in bar 4, we'll see a 2-5. We'll have some type of F minor back to the B flat 7, and that will take us to the 4 chord, right? So it's like a 2-5 to the 4. And so I played with that a little bit. I played a B flat 13, and then it just went up a half step. And here is a B 13 with the natural 9, right? Very bluesy. Right, so you hear that a lot. Joe Pass would do this type of motion all the time. Right. So what I did, B flat 13, moved up a half step, played a B 13 with the 9, and then I added my 2-5. So I came down to F minor 11, and then B flat 7, sharp 5. And then instead of going right to the E flat 9, I approach it from a half step above. So just a side step, an E9 to an E flat 9. Right? And so from bar 3, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now I'm into bar 5, which is the 4 chord. I'm on my E flat dominant rootless, and I have the 9 in there. And all I'm going to do now is create a little motion with the side step. So 1, 2, 3, and so playing into bar 5. 1, 2, 3. So simple but effective. And then in bar 6, this is the concept we talked about earlier. How do we get from the 4 chord back to the 1 chord? Well, we go 4 and we go sharp 4 diminished, and then that takes us back to the 1 chord in bar 7. So in bar 6, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my E diminished, and I'm taking advantage of the symmetrical motion, right? We know we can move a diminished voicing in minor thirds, and it ends up with the same 4 notes. So instead of just jumping up a minor third, I took advantage of this chromatic motion, and I did it with 8th notes, 1 and 2 and. So from the pickups into bar 5, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. And And then that takes me back to my 1 chord in bar 7. And in bar 7, what I'm thinking is I'm moving from the 1 dominant in bar 7 to the 6 dominant in bar 8, right? So basically B flat 13, I'm moving to some form of G7. And what I chose to do is to move down chromatically. And so I created passing motion. I went B flat 13 and then to A7 sharp 5 for a little color, down to A flat 13 to G7 sharp 5. And you get really nice voice leading. And if I put the root of those chords in the bass, the harmony will get a little fuller. And then in that descension, I added one little piece of melodic content. So B flat 13, A7 sharp 5. Here's my A flat 13. And I went from the A flat to the B flat into my G7 sharp 5, and then to the tritone substitution for G7, which is D flat. And again, I'm playing a D flat 9 here. And then this is going to voice lead me into my 2 chord in bar 9. And I am treating the 2 as dominant. Often you will see the 2 chord as minor in the blues. The dominant is a little bit bluesier. I like it. Just know it's common to see both the dominant chord or a minor chord for the 2 chord in the blues. And all I'm doing here in bar 9 is creating a little bit of a chromatic sidestep. I went from C9 down to B9, back up to C9, and then I went up to C13, and that gives me a little bit of a melodic content. And if I drop the voicings, that's the melody you're hearing on top. And then I'm going to take that concept and move it up a fourth in bar 10, which is moving into my 5 chord. So this is my 2. Do the exact sequence, take everything, move it up a fourth to F. Right? So F9, E9, F9 to F13. And then I'm moving into the tritone substitution for the F13. And what that's going to do is increase the level of tension, because it's essentially a 2-5-1, 2-5 tritone sub, increase the tension, and then resolve to B flat 13. And so that 2-5-1 starting at bar 9 sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here in bar 11 and 12, we have the turnaround, the 1-6-2-5, B flat dominant for my 1, G7. We're going to use an altered G7 for the 6. For the 2 chord here, I'm going to use C minor 7. And then for the 5, I'm going to use an F7 altered. B flat 13, moving down to G7, sharp 9, sharp 5. And then I'm moving to C minor 7. And then I'm thinking F7, sharp 9, sharp 5. Rootless, my F would be there. It would look like the F7, sharp 9. I'm just got rid of the root and put another alteration on top. And then this is going to just voice lead down a half step, and it becomes a B flat 13 with a 9. Right, so and with the root, so the last 2 bars sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. right, so I'm going to play the whole thing at 80 beats with the metronome, so you can kind of see what it all sounds like together. 1, 2, 3. All right, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you found this information useful. Everything we went over today is available as a PDF download with standard notation, tablature, chord symbols, and a backing track to practice, and that is available to my Patreon subscribers. So I'll put a link in this description if you're interested in exploring that, and I'll see you next time.